let's think about how we can, let's all think about together and think about how we can, if the difficult part is going to businesses and getting them to change, let's think about a way that we can make it even more simple. Or what would be sort of like the first step that we would go through to get this kind of thing working? Like my idea would be, first you have to get maybe a petition together of the people instead of the businesses to ask them, do they care more about healthier food? Would they be willing to spend more on healthier food? And then you could like challenge the restaurants by opening up a food cart or a small sidewalk grocery stand that sells only organic or something like that. I mean, I know there are already organic stores in most neighborhoods. Lynn, it was your suggestion, so what would you change to make it
no
easier?
More food additives.
Focus on that one.
What?
Just focus on that one, you mean?
That's the main thing that's really unhealthy.
So,
is the MSG and the food additives really, really bad for you.
so just focus on...
That's, yeah, to me that, but I know I'm particular in that area. Like a lot of people don't care, but I really think it's important. But
that's MSG and additives, and what about petitioning people?
I just rather talk to people I know who are in like around restaurants, like they're friends of mine that I drink with, and say, look buddy, you know, how much MSG do you use? That's what I'd rather do.
Okay.
How about like we can ask restaurants to like tell us what ingredient they use, and then restaurants that give us a list of ingredient they use. You know, if customers see that and they're more willing to go to that kind of restaurants and know what's in their food.
Yeah, they do that in Vancouver. They give you a list of all the ingredients.
Yeah, and then the restaurants that don't might have less customers, and then they'll be like
It's
making
like a
about
Facebook page or something. I guess the money for it too.
right.
So try to shame them into...
Well, shame them, but like
Give them an incentive to tell us what they put in their food, and then if they find out that people are more likely to eat at restaurants that don't put in additives, they also might change their menu.
Yeah, they do. If there's enough demand from the people, then they will change.
Okay. I like that idea. All right. So less waste, food and or other packaging. Who did not vote for this one? Okay, why?
Because you said I couldn't vote for all of them.
Oh.
And I have I like the other ones better.
So you don't really have an opinion of why not? You actually like it. You like
I think it's okay, yeah. I just like the other ones.
So
more.
it's not, to you, it's not a priority.
Right. It's just not the favorite ones.
You'd be willing to work on it later. I mean, some of these, I don't want to give you the wrong idea. It's not like when these are voted down, they can never be worked on ever again in the future. It's just which one do we want to work on first, right?
Well, yeah, it's less important to me. I think it's important to just...
Now, if the group was bigger, since there are only 5 of us, I'm saying we can only work on one. But if there were 20 of us, then we might be able to work on 2 or 3 at the same time, 4 of them at the same time. So, since there are only 5 of us. Okay, so, and you Coralie, you also did not vote for this one?
Yes,
Why?
because like, well, for me when I go like grocery shopping, I bring my own bags and stuff, but it's not just that. It's more about things that we buy from the store. Like I bought like seaweed that was packaged like one seaweed in one plastic wrap, and that is more difficult, like to ask companies to use less packaging. And
I noticed that some of the cookies that I would eat in Canada were individually wrapped here, but the ones that I brought from Canada that weren't individually wrapped went soggy immediately in the humidity.
yeah.
So you have to wrap them individually, or you don't have that food the next day. It's gone, which is a shame. But it is Right.
I also scale.
There are grocery stores that everything is bulk and you don't get a package. Like if you come in and you don't have your own packages, then you can't buy anything.
It's down there.
No, but I mean I'm saying that kind of thing has been tried in other places. And yeah, there might be an issue with humidity, but things like rice and beans and noodles and
Well, some places do sell that actually in bulk.
right.
Yeah, but it's
They still give you a plastic container or whatever. They give you a plastic bag.
I was at an organic store the other day that in Chinese it's like Liren, but I think the English name is Lizen or something. They said they don't give you plastic bags at all. They just don't have any. And then the lady in front of me wanted something, she bought a couple of things. And so the cashier dug around and she pulled out this cloth bag that someone had brought in. And so because of what I'd seen in another store, I said, oh, can I bring, because I have too many plastic bags at home. I try to use them, but we just end up with so many, Can I bring them to you? And she was like, we don't take plastic bags.
Right.
We don't want to encourage people
Right.
that there are bags here.
Right.
But we'll take your cloth bags to give to other customers so they can have one at home.
Yeah, we'll take your cloth bags. Yeah, because I've got 100 cloth bags.
Right. But it's kind of like they're like putting up there, making a stand basically, especially in Taiwan. Like everybody wants a plastic bag and they're changing, so.
Yeah, sometimes the best way to make people change is to force them to change, not give an option. So petitioning big business is difficult, and people need to make more careful choices as consumers. That's fine. Now, okay, let's say you had to change your idea and be more specific. What would be something you would choose to be more specific? Is this just about the night market? Or night markets in general?
You could maybe start with one specific place.
One restaurant.
One restaurant. Maybe there could be a campaign of some kind, like an awareness thing. Maybe a company that makes cloth bags could be approached to donate a bunch with their logo, and thereby, or someone whoever wants to sponsor it, they could get advertising this way. And that could just kind of give it away to people in hopes that they would use them.
Cool, that's a good idea. All right, so transportation. This was my idea, and I did not vote for it. I don't know why. Okay, I did not vote for it. So why? Because I think that dealing with the government is extremely difficult. Slow and difficult. Plus, part of the problem with having bike lanes is that I think dedicated bike lanes is really cool. And there are dedicated bike lanes on, what the hell road is that? Is it on Dunlaw Road?
Well, they used to be, but
Did they take them out?
Yeah, because people kept parking on them and they were being used by cyclists. Cyclists kept using the sidewalks. So they just...
Do you remember what the bike lanes looked like?
They were green, and they were just a painting on the ground that were green with a picture of a bike. But buses and taxis and cars were always in the bike cyclist way.
So do you know what they had? They had them on the road, and then where there was a bus stop, they would go up onto the sidewalk and then go back down onto the road. It was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. Well, in New York City they have bike lanes, but they still have the exact same troubles. There are always trucks and taxis.
They need to put a sort of a boulevard or a small lip that would prevent
And in like, I think in the Netherlands, they have exactly, it's Netherlands or something like that, they have exactly that. They have a small curve, so
Yeah.
cars cannot even get over there if they try. And they have thousands of people riding bicycles every morning.
That's nice.
I think that streets are just extremely dangerous in general. And every level from walking to riding a bicycle or taking, actually public transportation is not dangerous. So it's interesting, like the MRT, the MRT system. I used to write them letters because I used to drive my scooter to the MRT and then take the MRT. But at some MRT stations, they don't have enough parking for scooters. And I write them a letter and say, you guys should increase your scooter parking so you'd be more likely to get more people to drive their scooter to the MRT station than take the MRT. Because a lot of people, if they can't find a parking space, they won't.
Yeah.
Because they'll get their scooter towed or they'll get a ticket or something like that. And they wrote back to me and said, we want to encourage people to ride their bicycles and not drive. The MRT system wants people to ride bicycles. They don't want to encourage people to drive their scooters. But, I think that's just sort of a convenient answer for them because they don't want to address the problem. Because in a place like Yongning, where I live now, they have scooter parking for maybe 1,000 scooters, whereas at Far Eastern Hospital, there's only parking for about 60 scooters. So it's a pretty big difference between 1,000 and 60. I think it's bad planning on the part of the MRT system to put in an MRT where you don't have parking for anything. You only basically have parking for... Hey, Joe!
Hey, Joe.
You only basically have parking for...
Yeah, it took me a while to get here. Yeah.
You only basically have parking for bicycles. And I think that's okay too. I think the MRT system should have parking for bicycles, but I think it should also have parking for cars and scooters as well. Because sometimes people drive for 20 minutes or whatever, 30 minutes before they park their scooter. Anyway, so cultural events. Who did not vote for cultural events?
I
Everybody.
voted for it.
Okay. Who did not? You didn't. Why?
Because it's not easy to get people together to go, to spend time in a community where, most people have to work, and after work, they just want to stay home and watch TV, I guess.
Okay. And you also did not vote for it? Why?
But I do think it's a great idea. So I think it was more of a matter of focus on one thing at a time. I would actually, there was something like an initiative to bring more cultural stuff that I'd be happy to.
All right. And Alex,
I did.
you did. I know it was your idea. But what would you change if you had to change it to make it more likely for people to do it?
Okay, I agree with what Cory said. Yeah, there are different kind of people. There are students, there are children, there are people who don't go to work, retired. So it's optional. Not necessarily that everybody has to go. So yeah,
Maybe you could make
cultural events for children.
Okay, for children.
Yeah, or movies with a cheap price. Not like in a movie theater price. And what else? For students, maybe educational, cultural educational event.
That's good. That makes things more specific. And that's good. That's showing that that's the process of changing the ideas so that we would maybe vote on them again. And if we were to vote on it again, are there any, with these changes, that you'd be more likely to do. So let's just take a quick up and down vote one more time. So restaurants, just focusing on less additives, and maybe getting restaurants to do an ingredient list. Would we all want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So just showing that by changing them, we might be able to get more people to work on them. So this one, sponsored containers, focusing on one night market, and doing an awareness campaign. Would we all be willing to work on that?
Oh, what's just that? Awareness.
You guys are funny. Anyway,
Wait,
that-
circle back to that?
it's not important. We're almost out of time. So the idea is people come up with raw ideas. They've thought it through themselves,
Yeah.
but it's important for the people to share those ideas with a group, a community, and then sometimes those ideas need to be changed, and that's okay. Make it easier for the group to work on those problems. Now, really quickly, let's talk about more plants. Let's say we were going to work on this. What each person thinks they would be best at doing for this specifically? Open space, using open spaces, growing herbs, edible plants, community work, healthy food for the community, and start growing things yourself. So, Joe, maybe you can get an idea of what we're doing after each person goes. You don't want to? Okay, Alex.
What?
What would you do what do you think you would like to do to make this growing plants thing work?
Just to grow plants. I don't know.
What, do you have any experience with growing plants?
Just a little.
Like what?
Okay, yeah, well, yeah, you can make events, like, I don't know, students come out and learn how to plant with their teachers, or I don't know, maybe once a year, you know.
So it could be
Student planting day.
could be elementary school students, junior high school students.
Giving everybody a favorite plant to pick on, and I know probably there will be a lot of people who have favorite plants, whether they are interested in plants or not, and making them to choose a plant of their choice and work on it. Because if they have something that is their favorite, which they like, they might love to work with as a plant.
So instead of just saying, okay, here are a bunch of plants, let's get to work, you could actually ask everyone in the community which are your favorite plants, and then saying, okay, we're going to give you this space to work on your favorite
it could
plants.
be that every plant, but just because to make them more interested in what is going on, if they should choose something favorable, something that they love to have, it would compel them to actually go into that.
Okay.
To grow more plants.
All right. And Coralie, you said start growing stuff yourself.
Yeah, well, I saw your aloe plants downstairs, and you're doing pretty well. So I'm thinking about transfer my mint plant downstairs and see how it does, and if it goes well.
Because you mentioned mint plant. Actually, because recently I have a lot of friends, some friends who are actually interested in plants, and myself haven't actually get the chance to get myself involved into plants. But for some reason, somewhere along the line, instantly I developed the love for plants. And I choose mint as one of the plants and some other plants, like rosemary plant, which is very beneficial to a lot of people. Rosemary and some other plants that actually would be beneficial to people, because mint has one of it, and some other plant I forgot the name, and rosemary is one of it, and I'm working on it. And those plants were growing, they grew, and I've read something a bit about rosemary plants, and that the smell of it alone it boosts the memory.
So Coralie, you're thinking about encouraging people in the community to grow plants by just growing more plants yourself. Okay. And what do you think would be most interesting to you about plants?
Yeah, I'm kind of learning to garden, maybe kind of like yours. You know, I don't have a ton of experience, but I'm growing some stuff now. So
So you'd be willing to just help with what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Okay. And how about you, Lynn?
I'd like to haul in some big trees and put them about the city.
Okay.
Or
So
maybe-
shade trees and fruit trees and things like that.
Yeah.
All right, good. We're basically out of time. So does anybody have any questions? Aye. That sucked to lose the camera. Does anybody have any questions?
And then, how do you meant to get people involved into this kind of project? What is the effective way to get people to get them involved?
There are two basic ways. One would be to hold awareness events where we, bring a table out to the park and with some information on the table, and people give speeches about it, and we do a demonstration and hand out, could be a CD with some information on it that people can take home and put it in their computer and read something or see some pictures, or we could have a pamphlet that has website links to it or something like that. And the other way is actually getting people to go around door to door, knocking on doors and saying, hey, are you interested in a community event where we would start to grow more edible plants or something like that. I mean, it's not easy. Getting more people involved is one of the most difficult things to do. But it starts with a small group of people first.